Mobile telephony is the provision of telephone services to phones which may move around freely rather than stay fixed in one location. Mobile phones connect to a terrestrial cellular network of base stations, whereas satellite phones connect to orbiting satellites. Both networks are interconnected to the public switched telephone network to allow any phone in the world to be dialed. In 2010, there were estimated to be 5 billion mobile cellular subscriptions in the world. History. According to internal memos, American Telephone and AMP Telegraph discussed developing a wireless phone in 1915, but were afraid that deployment of the technology could undermine its monopoly on wired service in the U.S. Public mobile phone systems were first introduced in the years after the Second World War and made use of technology developed before and during the conflict. The first system opened in St. Louis, Missouri, USA in 1946, whilst other countries followed in the succeeding decades. The UK introduced its System 1 manual radio telephone service as the South Lancashire Radio Phone Service in 1958. Calls were made via an operator, using handsets identical to ordinary phone handsets. The phone itself was a large box located in the boot of the vehicle containing valves and other early electronic components. Although an operated manual service was extended to cover most of the UK, automation did not arrive until 1981 with System 4. Although this non-cellular service, based on German B-Net's technology, was expanded rapidly throughout the UK between 1982 and 1985 and continued in operation for several years before finally closing in Scotland. It was overtaken by the introduction in January 1985 of two cellular systems, the British Telecom Securicor Cellnet service and the Racal Millicom Barclays Vodafone service. These cellular systems were based on U.S. advanced mobile phone service technology, the modified technology being named Total Access Communications System. In 1947, Bell Labs was the first to propose a cellular radio telephone network. The primary innovation was the development of a network of small overlapping cell sites supported by a call switching infrastructure that tracks users as they move through a network and passes the calls from one site to another without dropping the connection. In 1956, the MTA system was launched in Sweden. The early efforts to develop mobile telephony faced two significant challenges: allowing a great number of callers to use the comparatively few available frequencies simultaneously and allowing users to seamlessly move from one area to another without having the calls dropped. Both problems were solved by Bell Labs employee Amos Joel, who in 1970 applied for a patent for a mobile communications system. However, a business consulting firm calculated the entire U.S. market for mobile telephones at 100,000 units and the entire worldwide market at no more than 200,000 units based on the ready availability of paid telephones and the high cost of constructing cell towers. As a consequence, Bell Labs concluded that the invention was of little or no consequence, leading it not to attempt to commercialize the invention. The invention earned Joel induction into the National Inventors Hall of Fame in 2008. The first call on a handheld mobile phone was made on April 3, 1973 by Martin Cooper, then of Motorola, to his opposite number in Bell Labs, who were also racing to be first. Bell Labs went on to install the first trial cellular network in Chicago in 1978. This trial system was licensed by the FCC to out for commercial use in 1982 and, as part of the divestiture arrangements for the breakup of that, the AMP's technology was distributed to local telcos. The first commercial system opened in Chicago in October 1983. a system designed by Motorola, also operated in the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area from summer 1982 and became a full public service later the following year. Japan's first commercial radio telephony service was launched by NTT in 1978. The first fully automatic first-generation cellular system was the Nordic mobile telephone system, simultaneously launched in 1981 in Denmark, Finland, Norway and Sweden. NMT was the first mobile phone network featuring international roaming. The Swedish electrical engineer Östen Mackitalo started to work on this vision in 1966, and is considered as the father of the NMT system, and some consider him also the father of the cellular phone. The advent of cellular technology encouraged European countries to cooperate in the development of a pan-European cellular technology to rival those of the US and Japan. This resulted in the GSM system, the initials originally from the group Special Mobile that was charged with the specification and development tasks but latterly as the Global System for Mobile Communications. The GSM standard eventually spread outside Europe and is now the most widely used cellular technology in the world and the de facto standard. The industry association, the GSMA, now represents 219 countries and nearly 800 mobile network operators. There are now estimated to be over 5 billion phone subscriptions according to the list of countries by number of mobile phones in use, which also makes the mobile phone the most widely spread technology and the most common electronic device in the world. The first mobile phone to enable internet connectivity and wireless email, the Nokia Communicator, was released in 1996, creating a new category of multi-use devices called smartphones. In 1999, the first mobile internet service was launched by NTT Docomo in Japan under the i-mode service. By 2007, over 798 million people around the world accessed the internet or equivalent mobile internet services such as WAP and i-mode at least, occasionally using a mobile phone rather than a personal computer. Cellular systems. Mobile phones send and receive radio signals with any number of cell site base stations fitted with microwave antennas. These sites are usually mounted on a tower, pole or building, located throughout populated areas, then connected to a cabled communication network and switching system. The phones have a low-power transceiver that transmits voice and data to the nearest cell sites, normally not more than 8 to 13 kilometers away. In areas of low coverage, a cellular repeater may be used, which uses a long-distance high-gain dish antenna or a Yagi antenna to communicate with a cell tower far outside of normal range, and a repeater to rebroadcast on a small short-range local antenna that allows any cell phone within a few meters to function properly. When the mobile phone or data device is turned on, it registers with the mobile telephone exchange or switch with its unique identifiers, and can then be alerted by the mobile switch when there is an incoming telephone call. The handset constantly listens for the strongest signal being received from the surrounding base stations, and is able to switch seamlessly between sites. As the user moves around the network, the handoffs are performed to allow the device to switch sites without interrupting the call. Cell sites have relatively low-power radio transmitters which broadcast the presence and relay communications between the mobile handsets and the switch. The switch in turn connects the call to another subscriber of the same wireless service provider to the public telephone network, which includes the networks of other wireless carriers. Many of these sites are camouflaged to blend with existing environments, particularly in scenic areas. The dialogue between the handset and the cell site is a stream of digital data that includes digitized audio, The technology that achieves this depends on the system which the mobile phone operator has adopted. The technologies are grouped by generation. The first generation systems started in 1979 with Japan, are all analog and include AMPS and NMT. Second generation systems, started in 1991 in Finland, are all digital and include GSM, CDMA and TDMA. The nature of cellular technology renders many phones vulnerable to cloning. Anytime a cell phone moves out of coverage, when the signal is re-established, the phone sends out a reconnect signal to the nearest cell tower, identifying itself and signaling that it is again ready to transmit. With the proper equipment, it's possible to intercept the reconnect signal and encode the data it contains into a blank phone. In all respects, the blank is then an exact duplicate of the real phone, and any calls made on the clone will be charged to the original account. This problem was widespread with the first generation analog technology. However, the modern digital standards such as GSM greatly improve security and make cloning hard to achieve. In an effort to limit the potential harm from having a transmitter close to the user's body, the first fixed mobile cellular phones that had a separate transmitter, vehicle-mounted antenna, and handset were limited to a maximum 3 watts effective radiated power. Modern handheld cell phones which must have the transmission antenna held inches from the user's skull are limited to a maximum transmission power of 0.6 watt CRP, regardless of the potential biological effects. The reduced transmission range of modern handheld phones limits the usefulness in rural locations as compared to car bag phones, and handhelds require that cell towers are spaced much closer together to compensate for the lack of transmission power. Usage by civilians. An increasing number of countries, particularly in Europe, now have more mobile phones than people. According to the figures from Eurostat, the European Union's in-house statistical office, Luxembourg had the highest mobile phone penetration rate at 158 mobile subscriptions per 100 people, closely followed by Lithuania and Italy. In Hong Kong, the penetration rate reached 139.8% of the population in July 2007. Over 50 countries have mobile phone subscription penetration rates higher than that of the population, and the Western European average penetration rate was 110% in 2007. Canada currently has the lowest rates of mobile phone penetrations in the industrialized world at 58%. There are over 500 million active mobile phone accounts in China as of 2007, but the total penetration rate still stands below 50%. The total number of mobile phone subscribers in the world was estimated at 2.14 billion in 2005. The subscriber count reached 2.7 billion by end of 2006 according to Informer, and 3.3 billion by November 2007, thus reaching an equivalent of over half the planet's population. Around 80% of the world's population has access to mobile phone coverage as of 2006. This figure is expected to increase to 90% by the year 2010. In some developing countries with little landline telephone infrastructure, mobile phone use has quadrupled in the last decade. The rise of mobile phone technology in developing countries is often cited as an example of the leapfrog effect. Many remote regions in the Third World went from having no telecommunications infrastructure to having satellite-based communications systems. At present, Africa has the largest growth rate of cellular subscribers in the world, its markets expanding nearly twice as fast as Asian markets. The availability of prepaid or pay-as-you-go services, where the subscriber is not committed to a long-term contract, has helped fuel this growth in Africa as well as in other continents. On a numerical basis, India is the largest growth market, adding about 6 million mobile phones every month. It currently has a mobile subscriber base of 937.06 million mobile phones. Traffic, since the world is operating quickly to 3G and 4G networks, mobile traffic through video is heading high. It is expected that by end of 2018, the global traffic will reach an annual rate of 190 exabytes per year. This is the result of people shifting to smartphones nowadays. It is predicted by 2018, mobile traffic will reach by 10 billion connections, with 94% traffic comes from smartphones, laptops and tablets. Also 69% of mobile traffic from videos, since we have high-definition screens available in smartphones and 176.9 wearable devices to be at use. Apparently, 4G will be dominating the traffic by 51% of total mobile data by 2018. By government agencies, law enforcement have used mobile phone evidence in a number of different ways. Evidence about the physical location of an individual at a given time can be obtained by triangulating the individual's cell phone between several cell phone towers. This triangulation technique can be used to show that an individual's cell phone was at a certain location at a certain time. The concerns over terrorism and terrorist use of technology prompted an inquiry by the British House of Commons Home Affairs Select Committee into the use of evidence from mobile phone devices, prompting leading mobile telephone forensic specialists to identify forensic techniques available in this area. NIST have published guidelines and procedures for the preservation, acquisition, examination, analysis, and reporting of digital information present on mobile phones can be found under the NIST publication SP 800-101. In the UK, in 2000, it was claimed that recordings of mobile phone conversations made on the day of the Omar bombing were crucial to the police investigation. In particular, calls made on two mobile phones which were tracked from south of the Irish border to Omar and back on the day of the bombing were considered of vital importance. Further example of criminal investigations using mobile phones is the initial location and ultimate identification of the terrorists of the 2004 Madrid train bombings. In the attacks, mobile phones had been used to detonate the bombs. However, one of the bombs failed to detonate, and the SIM card in the corresponding mobile phone gave the first serious lead about the terrorists to investigators. By tracking the whereabouts of the SIM card and correlating other mobile phones that had been registered in those areas, police were able to locate the terrorists. Disaster response. The Finnish government decided in 2005 that the fastest way to warn citizens of disasters was the mobile phone network. In Japan, mobile phone companies provide immediate notification of earthquakes and other natural disasters to the customers free of charge. In the event of an emergency, disaster response crews can locate trapped or injured people using the signals from the mobile phones. An interactive menu accessible through the phone's internet browser notifies the company if the user is safe or in distress. In Finland, rescue service suggests hikers carry mobile phones in case of emergency even when deep in the forest beyond cellular coverage, as the radio signal of a cell phone attempting to connect to a base station can be detected by overflying rescue aircraft with special detection gear. Also, users in the United States can sign up through the provider for free text messages when an Amber Alert goes out for a missing person in their area. However, most mobile phone networks operate close to capacity during normal times, and spikes in call volumes caused by widespread emergencies often overload the system just when it is needed the most. Examples reported in the media where this has occurred include the September 11, 2001 attacks, the 2003 Northeast blackouts, the 2005 London tube bombings, Hurricane Katrina, the 2006 Hawaii earthquake, and the 2007 Minnesota bridge collapse. Under FCC regulations, all mobile telephones must be capable of dialing emergency telephone numbers, regardless of the presence of a SIM card or the payment status of the account.